my name's Thomas, and I'm the student pastor here at Cornerstone Church. You know, here at Cornerstone, there are 4 words that we like to use to describe a follower of Christ. And those 4 words are love, grow, serve, and share. You know, when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, Jesus simply responded with, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. In essence, Jesus was saying the most important thing that should consume your life is loving God with all that you are. And here at Cornerstone, we encourage our members to love God by gathering together on Sunday mornings, to love Him through worship, through the hearing of His Word, and then out of obedience, the response to the Word. And you know, we also believe at Cornerstone that loving God just don't happen in an hour on Sunday morning. We believe that as followers of Christ, we should love God daily by spending time with Him in the Word and in prayer, and allowing Him to speak into our lives through those ways. And you know, just loving God isn't all that a follower of Christ should be. And in fact, we like to use the word serve to describe the follower of Christ. And when it comes to serving, we say that we look most like Jesus when we are serving. And we can say that because Jesus Himself set that example, and He said that even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give His life a ransom for many. And so we believe at Cornerstone that followers of Christ should serve God both inside and outside the church without expecting anything in return. And so we look most like Jesus when we're serving. And while we say that, we also say that we love most like Jesus when we're sharing. The third word that I want to talk about is the word share. You know, as followers of Christ, you know, we've experienced God's forgiveness through Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. And as His followers, we shouldn't just keep it to ourselves, but we should share the gospel with others. And here at Cornerstone, we go on mission trips, and we may organize events and go out to the community. And that sole purpose may be to serve and to share. But as followers of Christ, we believe that those are not the only opportunities that we should take to share the gospel. In fact, we encourage our members to, as followers of Christ, to share Christ everywhere we go. We share Him with our neighbors, our co-workers, our friends, our family, and maybe even that complete stranger that we run into at the store. But we are called to share the gospel of Christ. So we look most like Jesus when we're serving, and we love most like Jesus when we're sharing. And now I want to take some time and just circle back around to the second word that we use to describe a follower of Christ, and that word being grow. You know, as followers of Christ, we need to be growing in community with other believers. And at Cornerstone, we believe one of the very first grow group, if you will, that God created was the family. And so I'm imagining that's why you have this resource and why you're watching this DVD. Is because as a parent or as a future parent, you have come to the realization that God has called you to be the primary discipler of your children. And maybe this is all new to you. Maybe this is the first time that you've began to take a step in that direction to be your child's primary discipler. And if it is, I want to encourage you to say, that's great, and to keep on. And that we're here to help and equip you and resource you to do just that. And maybe you're not new to the whole idea of being a primary discipler of your children, and this is just another opportunity to put another notch in your belt or another tool at your disposal in order to disciple your children. And so part of that is having a family time. And now when I say the word family time, you know, you might be thinking about the big old, coffee table Bible that you might have at your house and pulling it out and gathering your children around and your wife or your husband and maybe it's just you as a single parent and saying, all right guys, we're going to try something different. We're going to have a family time. And you open up that big old heavy Bible and you begin to read. And you read a chapter and then, maybe you expound on that with 3 points in a poem, and then you respond to that with 30 minutes of prayer. If that's what comes to your mind, number one, that's daunting, and number two, you're probably thinking, how effective is that going to be? And you would be right to say it's not going to be that effective. In fact, what we've found to be more effective is that we create intentional moments, okay, that are creative and that can help pass our faith along to our children. And by doing these, maybe once a week, twice a week, whatever fits best for your family schedule, that you're going to be able to effectively pass down your faith to your kids. And so in this Faith at Home resource, you're going to find recipe cards that you can take, and they'll give you devotional ideas, and these resources in the packet are going to point you to other resources that you can find in our Faith at Home Center at Cornerstone, and these are going to be age-appropriate resources that you can take and put into practice with your family during the week to help pass God's truth on to your children. Let me encourage you in your journey. This is going to be challenging. It's going to be fun. And in the end, it's going to be rewarding. The rest of this DVD, simply put, is just families like yours and mine sharing their struggles, their successes, their high and lows of family devotional time. And I believe you're going to be able to find one or two of them that you can relate with. Again, if there's anything that I can do to help, or we as a church can do to help you in becoming your primary child's discipler, then please let us know. With that said, God bless and enjoy the rest of this resource.
All right, everybody, time for family time. All right.
Yeah, we're having our family time. Yeah, we're all together. Yeah. Well, you can keep talking. We're just gonna do a family
Okay.
time.
We're gonna
What's happened?
study Proverbs tonight. All right.
Oh, really?
Hey,
No.
we're gonna study. Hang on a minute.
You can talk after.
Come on, everybody. We're singing and dancing our worries away. Jump into the party. It's family time now, don't be late. Come on, everybody. We're singing and dancing our worries away. Jump into the party. It's family time now, don't be late, no.
We have 4 children, and like you, nothing is more important to us than helping them build strong faith and strong character.
And like you, we've heard the statistics telling us only about half of the kids raised in church remain active believers as adults. Now think about that. In a day when churches are more creative than ever about children's ministries, student ministries, in the history of the church, actually, our kids are walking away from the faith at an alarming rate. Now we're absolutely convinced that the problem isn't with what is or isn't happening at the church. The problem is what desperately needs to happen in our homes.
We describe our family as being in the minivan years. Now here's a picture of our minivan. That's the outside, but here's the inside. And I think that'll make you feel a lot better. This picture reminds us that these are hectic, busy days because we're running everywhere trying to be intentional about school, church, sports, music lesson. But because of all this busyness, the spiritual formation of our children a lot of times ends up at the bottom of our priority list.
We've used a lot of different methods in our family to drive faith conversation. We've used mealtime conversations, bedtime activities, drive time activities, movie nights with our teens, and so forth. But in this series, we're going to drill in and show you our favorite method of all that we used over many years of parenting. It's called family nights or family times.
From the time our oldest child, who is 21 now, turned 5, we made a habit of setting aside one evening per week.
Why one evening per week?
So that we could actually get to it every other week, right? But that's all right, because that means we averaged about 26 intentional faith training activities per year. And it was a fun night. It was a way of teaching our faith in an engaging way. Family night was always our kids' favorite time of the week.
Yeah, here's an example of what we mean. Let's watch as this couple uses a very simple activity to teach their children a very profound truth about Jesus Christ and the gospel.
I want you to pretend that I'm God, and you've got to get up the stairs to God because I want you up here with me. You cannot use any of the steps, and you can't use the rails to get up to me.
Okay, Carson, do you know how to get up to where God is?
No. Oh, I do.
Oh, he's gonna.
No, can't
No.
use the rails, buddy.
Can't. What'd you say, Carter? Pray to get up to God?
Pray would be a good one, but that's not the actual solution
There's
this
only
time.
one way to get to heaven where God is.
I know.
All right, Kayla, what do you think?
To accept Jesus and God in your heart.
That's right. But how else could you get from down there to up
How
here?
do you physically, right now, get from on this bottom of the stairs to where he is?
So let me ask you this. Can you do it on your own?
No.
What do you have to get to heaven?
God in your heart.
Right, and what does God have to do?
Come down and pick us up and carry us up.
That's exactly right. Okay,
Awesome.
very
So
good.
God's going to come down and he's going to take you up to heaven.
All right, Kayla, you're first.
No, I'm
All right, you're gonna get on my back.
Dad's
you're
carrying
I'm gonna take
everybody
you
up
to
to
heaven.
heaven.
Yay.
Hey, come on.
Come on, you got this.
I got this.
You got it.
God can do anything. Oh, you're next, Carson.
Okay.
Okay, buddy. Oh, you're lightweight. I can take you and Kate.
Who else was ready to go to heaven?
No, I'm next. Sorry.
All right, ready? Hold on. Dad's getting tired. All right, Katie. All right.
Yeah, one more person to go.
Mom's already got her salvation. Right, Mom?
Okay, now
All
what
right.
we're going to do is we're going to get in the car and we're going to go to Culver's because y'all accepted the challenge.
Ready?
Are we ready to go to Culver's?
All right, let's go.
Let's go. We're going to read Ephesians 2:8. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the free gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. Okay, which means there's nothing we have to do to earn our way to heaven. That
pretty
God
cool.
has given that to us. And so what we want y'all to understand is that what God did for us, we cannot do for ourselves. Right? We needed Christ to come in and intervene so that we can be with him one day in eternity.
Alright.
Okay? How's y'all's ice cream? Good?
Was it good?
Sometimes had an idea of us kind of all sitting at Lance's feet and him reading the Bible to us.
I
And
definitely had that same
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
and that's just not the way it went. And we tried that with some devotions, and you've got one kid crawling on your back and one rolling around on the floor, and some nights everyone's in timeout before we're done, and you just want to go, why are we doing this? Is it making a difference? So I think that just don't give up and keep doing it, and before you know it, they're asking us, when are we going to have family night, or what are we going to do for family night? And I think that's the key.
Family nights are, if you can plan them, if you can put some time into planning, they're going to go better. But I don't want you to ever think that you have to do that. You can find resources to make it really easy, and you don't have to do a lot of planning. But one night I wanted to do something specific, and so we planned to have a family auction. And so I had the kids basically spend some time making some whatever they wanted to sell, some works of art, picture, drawing, or whatever they had. And
we drew pictures for the auction and made stuff, and my dad would not let us see when he was making it.
a lot of it was just finding stuff they had made in the school year or stuff like that. And so then we made little auction paddles for them with the numbers and different things like that. And we talked about what an auction is. So we gave them all a certain amount of money, and then we told them they can bid on stuff that they want to buy.
We would hold them up if we really wanted that picture, and it would go higher and higher.
I just stood up there as the auctioneer, and I started auctioning off their own artwork. And so it was fun to watch all the things that developed out of that, the things I didn't even plan or didn't even plan for that developed out of that, as they kind of affirmed one another by bidding on each other's artwork and not just their own. And as the price went up, some of their esteem went up. Let them take turns being cashier, and then at the end, after they'd seen me do that for a while, let them take turns being the auctioneer, which was very, very interesting to say the least. And then after all that, we just talked about this one simple principle that the worth of something is determined by how much you're willing to give for it. You know, I mean, that's what you see in an auction. How much is that painting or that picture worth? Well, it's worth how much someone's willing to give, or how you bid over somebody to get that thing. So we just talked about Jesus and how he declared that worth on us, that he was willing to give his life for us, to show us how much a relationship with us is worth to him.
Yeah, and we just want to make sure that they know that we can have fun learning about the Bible, and we can have fun together as a family, and really just make that a priority, just being together. And Lance is very creative in that he just is good about making sure that we do have fun while we're doing it, and not just going through the motions, but really enjoying each other as a family, because we know there's a season and it's very short, and they're going to be they may not want to sit and have an auction with the family. So we want to take advantage of that now while they're young.
Yeah, we absolutely love our church and love the resources, but it's our job and it's our responsibility. And so when we could follow through a Deuteronomy process of talking to our kids when we're lying down, when we're driving in the car, no matter where we're going, just finding ways to be intentional and talking and sharing about God's love and who He is and who our Creator is. That is up to us. It's our responsibility. We've always been able and willing to do things like that, but we've always needed a resource. I mean, if you tell me to take that candle and that Bible and that phone and do these things, I could do that. I'll make it work and it'll be fun and the kids will have a great time.
Right.
But we've always needed just some type of a formalized process to do that.
We're not creative in that sense.
And so we've been able to use different family night activities that we found either online or through our church at Home Point to create just a fun environment, and the kids have fun, and they could start by dancing or having just a good time getting ready for it.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to go in and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Hey. Let's first get the bread. Oh, come on.
I think that's a wise decision.
I think a plastic plate is good.
Right.
Here, you twist it off all of it. I love PBJ. It's very pretty. Wait. Where are you?
So what did you have to do to make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Do the same thing at the same time?
Did you both want to do the same thing at the same time?
No.
Did you have a different idea about how you wanted things done? So let me read another scripture for us, and this comes out of Ephesians 5. So submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Does that sound familiar?
Marriage is a wonderful thing. It's good to have good godly examples for a marriage in your life, but sometimes that doesn't happen, but that's not an excuse because God is our ultimate example.
One of the things that we've done as a family very regularly is meet at the kitchen table for cookies and milk at the end of the day, right before going to bed. We would, everybody gets a glass of milk and cookies, and we would just sit there and reflect on how we saw God working that day, what was good, what was bad about the day. And it's great with all the activities, especially as the kids get older, for us to just have a time to be still and really discuss what's going on in our lives and again, what God has been doing.
Right. In addition to that, we try to have devotionals in the evenings. Started when they were young, Megan's age, for example. What we will do is we'll do Bible stories with the kids. So we'll sit down and we'll read 1, 2, maybe 3 Bible stories each night, and we'll talk about them, what's happening, and it develops her questions and her curiosity about what God is doing. And we'll a lot of times tie that into the activities of the day, as Angel said, even with the cookies and milk.
I think those help probably the most because it's one thing, hear the lesson from the preacher or something. When you get home and you're actually reading the scripture for yourself, you can just feel free to have one-on-one questions and get good answers, good insight from, well, I'm not going to say you're older, but the older and wiser.
And we have worked to be intentional about family time, not always a structured family night, but family dinners or family breakfasts. We drive everywhere. We never fly because that gives us hours and hours in the car when we go skiing, 14, 15 hours with 3 kids and the dog in the car, and we talk. I mean, they take the earbuds out and I ask questions.
When we started our family fun nights, it's just the boys and I, and so we really thought it'd be fun to involve more of the family, and so we did get involved with the grandparents and that kind of thing, and inviting them to be a part of it, inviting the cousins to come over and be a part of it. And then whenever that ceased and that did end, I can tell you too, we continued it at our house on Sunday nights by ourselves because we had so much fun with it, and the kids looked forward to it so much, and just schedules change and things change where we couldn't meet on the night anymore that we were meeting. So
We did actually continue it on at our house on Sunday nights, and it was just as fun and just as exciting with us three.
We were kind of overwhelmed as parents with what's the best way to raise your child. What things do you have to be consistent in? And for us, really the main thing that has worked for us is to make sure that we have our time around the dinner table together, that there's no interruptions, that it's dedicated, it's a round table, so we're all looking at each other. And we do that night in and night out. And for us, that's been the platform for everything else. One of the things we do as we start to eat is we tell each other our high and our low for the day. And regardless of what kind of mood we're in or how obvious the high or how obvious the low is, we just go around and share those things. And we have one rule when it comes to that, is that your low can't be about somebody else. So
particularly around the table.
Especially if it's someone, sitting at the table. So what it's done, sometimes, of course, when you do something out of habit, it can become a habit, but it's always an opportunity to ask more questions.
We didn't realize that we were trendsetters when we started having these conversations and these meal times together. But since then, we've read a few studies that say that the number one factor in preventing drug abuse in your kids and waywardness and all of that is just simply having a family dinner. So we got it right and we didn't even know.
And she makes good food, so that helps.
That does help.
And they'd come up, they'd say, oh, it's family night. We'd have a theme song, we'd dance to it and have some fun and just, come down and really, and then just have some time to sit down and as a family discuss the Bible, discuss what we were talking about, what we were doing, what was important to my parents, what lessons they want us to learn. And they made it fun. They made it seem to us like it was something important. And even if we weren't always paying attention, which I was the guilty one. I usually wasn't. I was always had a lot of energy, but even if I wasn't paying attention right then, later in my life, later in my years when I was in high school and middle school, when I maybe was a little older for that, but I still remember those times as my parents putting forth the effort and making sure that I knew God, that I knew these lessons, and I still can recite some of the family night sayings, just like air, God is there, just some of these things that stuck with me, and I'm 19 years old now. I learned these when I was 11 and 10.
We think that family nights are so important because, number one, it just gives us an opportunity to have a fun night together with our boys. And even beyond that, we can teach them some spiritual truths and just start to instill some things in their lives that we feel like are very important. So we just enjoy family nights. We think they're a lot of fun. They're most of the time very easy to put on and put together, a few supplies and just a few things when we can make a really memorable experience for them. Yeah, we made a treasure map, and what we showed them was the fun interactive map led to a prize that really was filled with trash. It was really worthless, but the map that maybe wasn't as colorful and it didn't look as fun actually led them to the real treasure. And it was fun to see their faces when they opened up the box and saw all the candy and surprises that we'd put in the real treasure box.
And we have talked that this life offers so much about happiness, and the world tells us things make us happy and bring us treasure, and they only leave us empty. And so hopefully through the activity, our kids really grasped that and had a good time and made a good memory, and they had something that was a seed that was planted.
Let's go talk about your maps. This looks like it would lead to a real fun treasure, right? But what happened when we got all the way and found the treasure?
False treasure.
False treasure.
What's
and
false?
False means not really good treasure. My child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. Tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge. Biggest things we've learned through family nights is just to go with the flow as parents, that things happen that you don't expect. Kids say stuff you don't expect. And even sometimes the worst activity that you feel like your child got nothing out of, they'll say something a few days later, and you realize that they really got it and they really learned something from that. And so it's important as parents, just don't give up and just keep trying. Some nights you feel like you hit a home run and other nights you strike out, but it's okay because when you're doing those things, God's word doesn't return void.